Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to today's class. It is class number 7 of module number 3, which deals with the concept of leveling. So, in today's class, I want to tell you how to tabulate the readings. So, in yesterday's class, I was explaining. Okay, all of you were present for for the previous class on Monday, and all of you know what is the meaning of backside, intermediate side, benchmark, or do I have to explain it again? I'm assuming all of you know what is benchmark. Benchmark is a point whose elevation is known, and all of you know backside. Backside is a staff reading taken on a point whose elevation is known. So staff reading taken on benchmark is called as backside. Intermediate side, it is a staff reading taken on a point whose elevation is unknown. So and also it is not the last staff reading. Foresight, it is a staff reading taken on a point whose elevation is unknown, and that particular staff reading is the last staff reading taken from that particular instrument point. Okay, I gave you an example of conducting the survey between. Uh, I want to find the difference in level between uh, the floor level of the civil engineering building, civil engineering block, and main block. This is your first year block. Okay, so I want to find the difference in elevation between the floor of civil block and the floor of main block. Both the points are not intervisible, and also uh, it is not intervisible from anywhere in between. So I cannot keep the instrument at a single point and take reading on civil block floor and main block floor. So I have to shift the instrument several times. So I'll start the survey from this point, that is instrument point 1. Always leveling is started from benchmark. Okay, so I don't have any permanent benchmark here, so I'll be assuming an arbitrary benchmark. You have to assume arbitrary benchmark on a permanent structure. So if you have observed, there is a flag pole opposite to the civil block. I'll take that the base of the flag pole as the as the benchmark, arbitrary benchmark, and I'll assume the RL of that benchmark as RL, or elevation of that benchmark, as 100 meter. So my first station is arbitrary benchmark. In the remarks, this is my tabulation. First column is station, second column is backside, third column is intermediate side, fourth column is foresight, fifth column is HI, height of instrument, and next column is RL, or elevation, and the last column is remarks. So in remarks, I'll write it as arbitrary benchmark, and in bracket I can write as pole, flag pole. So this is my first station, and I have assumed its RL as 100 meters. So I'll write it as 100.00, and all the RLs are in terms of meters. It may be in terms of feet also, but now it is in terms of meters. So now, first I'll set up my instrument at instrument station, first instrument point, and I'll take a staff reading on benchmark. I know what is the elevation of benchmark. So staff reading taken on a point whose elevation is known, it is backside. Let's say this point, the reading is 0.5. Okay, this backside reading is 0.5. I get a staff reading of 0.5. So I'll enter this staff reading in the backside column. So 0.5. So first point is the arbitrary benchmark taken on the flagpole. Understood? How? Okay, have you understood up to this point? If yes, please raise your hand. If you have not understood, raise your hand. If you have not understood, please raise your hand. Okay, do you know what is benchmark, backside, foresight, intermediate side? Or do I have to explain those terms? Okay, next question. If you don't know what is the meaning of foresight, backside, and intermediate side, raise your hand. Benchmark, backside, foresight, intermediate side. If you don't know what is the meaning of these terms, please raise your hand. So all of you know what is the meaning of these terms. Anyone else who don't know the meaning of these terms? Okay, I'll just repeat very briefly. Benchmark is a point whose elevation is already known. I already know what is the vertical distance of a benchmark from the datum. And if you want to find elevation of any point, you have to keep a staff on that point and you have to take a staff reading. Now, there are three types of staff reading. Backside, intermediate side, and foresight. Now, backside is a staff reading taken on a point whose elevation is known. So, in this whole, I told you, I always leveling survey is always started from a benchmark, and benchmark is a point whose elevation is known. So, if I am taking a staff reading on benchmark, it will be backside because backside is the staff reading taken on a point of known elevation. This point is clear. What is backside? Backside is the staff reading taken on a point whose elevation is known. Because I know what is the elevation of benchmark, it is 100 meter from the datum. So that particular staff reading is called as backside. Did you understand this point? If yes, please raise your hand. Backside is a staff reading taken on a point whose elevation is known. Okay, benchmark is a point whose elevation is known. So if you take a staff reading on the benchmark, that particular staff reading will be back side. Okay, next, the next two types, intermediate site and foresight. Okay, intermediate site and foresight, they are staff readings taken on the point whose elevations are unknown. So here I have to find the difference in elevation between this floor of the civil block and floor of the main block. So I'll take a staff reading on the floor of the civil block. Do I know what is the elevation of floor of the civil block? I don't know what is its elevation. So if I'm taking a staff reading on that point whose elevation is unknown, so that reading is called as intermediate site or foresight. Any confusion? Intermediate site and foresight are staff readings taken on point whose elevations are unknown. So now, what is the difference between intermediate site and foresight? Foresight is the last staff reading, and intermediate site is intermediate reading. Okay, if you're shifting the instrument or if you're ending the survey after taking that particular reading, so that particular reading will be foresight. Always last reading in a leveling is foresight, because after that reading you're ending that survey. So final staff reading before you end the survey or before you shift the instrument, that particular staff reading is called as foresight. Otherwise, it is called as intermediate site. Okay, are you clear with what is foresight and intermediate site? Both are readings taken on points of unknown elevation, but difference is foresight is the final staff reading before you end the survey or before you shift the instrument. Okay, shall I move to the next part?
Yes, sir.
Others, have you understood, or you want me to explain it once again? If you have understood, please raise your hand. Okay. I'll tell you how to tabulate the readings. We'll go to the next part, that is the tabulation part. Okay. Now, I'm taking an example. The example is you're trying to find difference in elevation between 2 points. Those 2 points are point A and point B. Okay, point A is the civil block floor and point B is the main building floor, the front portion floor. Now I have to find the difference in elevation between both the points. Okay, so these 2 points, are they intervisible? No, they are not. If you stand at point A, point B is visible. No, it is not visible. If you stand at point B, point A is not visible. So they are not intervisible. And also there is no such point if you in the center or in between these points. If you stand, you can sight both the points. There is no such point. So that means I have to conduct differential leveling where I have to shift the instrument many times. How is that? So first I'll set up my instrument at instrument point 1 where benchmark is visible. This is the benchmark. I told you I have taken the flag pole right in front of the civil block building as my benchmark, and I have assumed its elevation as 100 meters. So I'll write it down. What is my first station? My first station is station number 1. So it is a arbitrary benchmark, and uh, the top of the pedestal I've taken it as benchmark. So I have assumed the RL of the benchmark as 100 meters. Next, I have set up my instrument here. I'll hold the staff here on the pedestal, on the pole pedestal, and I will take a reading, staff reading. Okay. So this is the staff pedestal. I'll hold my instrument here. I'll hold the staff here and I will take a staff reading. So 0, I'll get a reading of 0.5. So I'll write down that 0.5. Now this 0.5, it is a backside. I told you staff reading taken on a point whose elevation is known. I know what is the elevation of benchmark. It is 100 meters. So whatever staff reading I am taken on benchmark, it is backside. Okay, so I get a staff reading of 0.5, which is a backside. So I'll enter it in backside column. Clear up to this point? I'm taking a staff reading on a benchmark. So staff reading taken on a point whose elevation is known is backside. So I'll enter that staff reading in backside column. Next. Now okay, just a minute. There is some problem with Teams. Okay, so I'll just show the same thing in a vertical plane. Okay, so this is my benchmark. I've assumed its RL as 100 meters. So this vertical distance from the datum, the blue color line is datum. So this vertical distance is known and it is equal to 100. This particular line, blue line, is datum. So benchmark is at a vertical distance or is at an elevation of 100 meters from the datum. So I'll keep my staff here. I'll keep my instrument here and I will take a staff reading. So this is the so this is my tripod or instrument and I am taking staff reading here. So this staff reading I'm getting value as 0.5, and because I'm taking staff reading on a point whose elevation is known, this particular staff reading is backside. Okay, so I have written down all the so now I've written down the same thing. Remarks is benchmark and its RL is 100 meters and I've taken backside of 0.5. So wherever I'm setting up my instrument, I have to calculate the height of instrument. Now height of instrument is nothing but the elevation of line of sight. So this is my line of sight. So if I measure the vertical distance of line of sight from the datum, now this vertical distance or this elevation of line of sight from the datum is called as height of instrument. Now height of instrument is equal to, up to this point it is 100 and this distance is 0.5. So what is height of instrument? Anyone?
RL plus BS, sir.
It is this is the RL of benchmark. So if you generalize it, it is RL plus backside. It is 100 plus 0.5. 100 plus 0.5. So height of instrument is 100.5. Any doubts? How to calculate height of instrument? Okay, you can generalize this formula as RL plus backside. Please, you can note down HI is equal to RL of benchmark or simply RL plus backside. Any doubts? Okay, moving on. So here 100 plus 0.5. So height of instrument is 100.5 meters, and all the height of instruments, they are in terms of meters. So wherever I have instrument point, I have to write this. This is I'm setting up my instrument here. Okay. Next, I will take point A is here. This is the floor of the civil block. I have to find actually I have to find the difference in elevation between point A and point B. So I'll take a staff reading on point A. Do I know what is the elevation of point A? I don't know what is the elevation of point A. So next, I'll write down the next reading. The next reading is on point A. So I'll write it as station A. In the remarks, I can write it as civil floor. Okay, so let's say I get a staff reading of 1.5 meter. Okay, I'll show it in the vertical scale, vertical plane. Okay, let's say this is point A. I'll hold the staff on point A. So this is point A. And I'll hold the staff on point A, and I'm getting a reading of 1.5 meter. Okay, I don't know what is the elevation of point A, and the staff, hence the staff reading taken on point A, it is either intermediate site or foresight. But I know that after taking reading on point A, okay, after taking the reading on point A, I'm not shifting the instrument. This is not my last reading. So I'll write this reading in intermediate site 1.5. Okay, this particular staff reading is taken on point A, whose elevation is unknown, and it is not the last staff reading. So I'll write the staff reading in intermediate site column. Clear? If clear, just raise your hand. Others?
Yes, sir.
If you have not understood, please raise your hand. If you have not understood. If you have not understood, raise your hand. Okay, I'll take a staff reading on point A. I do not know what is the elevation of point A. So I told you what is intermediate site and foresight. Intermediate site and foresight are staff readings taken on point whose elevation is unknown. So this particular reading on point A will either be intermediate site or foresight. What is the difference between intermediate site and foresight? The difference is foresight is the last or final staff reading, and intermediate site is intermediate staff reading. So this particular reading on point A, it is not my final reading. I'll write this staff reading intermediate at 1.5. Now, in the vertical plane, how to calculate its elevation? So, elevation of point A. Elevation of point A is distance from point A to datum. So, how do I find out? Okay, this is RL of A. Now, I already know what is, I have already calculated the height of the instrument. Okay, height of the instrument minus staff reading. So height of instrument minus this staff reading. It will give me RL of A. So I can generalize the formula. RL is equal to height of instrument minus intermediate site. So this 1.5 meter is nothing but intermediate site. It is intermediate site. So RL is equal to height of instrument, the red line, minus intermediate site. So RL is equal to HI is 100.5 meter. So 100.5 minus 1.5. RL of A is 99 meters. So I'll write the same thing in the table. RL is HI, that is 100.5 minus 1.5. So this reading is 99 meters. So RL, after I take staff reading on A, I can calculate the RL of A. Okay, did you understand this point? I know it is. You need a lot of imagination here. because it is a surveying is a practical subject, and most of the concepts need imagination. Or you have to do it in the field to understand this concept. Okay, any doubts in calculating the RL of point A? Height of instrument minus this intermediate site. If you have any doubts, raise your hand. I can explain it again. If you have any doubts, raise your hand. I'll explain it again. Okay. Next. Okay, I have to find the difference in elevation between point A and point B. I have already taken staff reading on point A. Now from this point, that is from instrument station 1, I cannot see point B. So I have to shift the instrument. So before I shift the instrument, I'll select a change point. Okay, I'll name it as change point 1. I'll select a change point and I will keep the staff on the change point and I'll take staff reading. Now let this staff reading, let's say this is the change point. I'll hold the staff on the change point. And I'll take staff reading. And let's say I'll get a staff reading of 0.7 meter. So here I'll get a staff reading of 0.7 meter. So now this staff reading is taken on change point. Do I know what is the elevation of change point? I don't know what is the elevation of change point. So this reading is either intermediate side or foresight. Now, after taking this reading, will I take further readings or will I shift the instrument? So, okay, my intention is after taking the staff reading on this particular change point, I'll be shifting the instrument. So this is the last staff reading from instrument 1. That is instrument point 1. So because this is the last staff reading taken from the instrument from point 1, this particular staff reading is foresight. So I'll enter this reading in foresight column. So point number 2, and this point number 2 is change point, and first change point. So I'll write it as CP1. Okay, any doubts? I'm taking a staff reading on change point 1. Evaluation of change. So this reading will either be foresight or intermediates. Now I have to check whether this is, or will I continue this is final reading or not. So actually this is the final reading from this instrument point. After taking this reading, I'm shifting the instrument. That's why this staff reading is foresight, because it is the final reading, and after taking this reading I'll be shifting the instrument. So I'll write it in foresight 0.7. Okay, so this is 0.7, and I am entering this staff reading in foresight column. So how to calculate the RL? I've already, let's say, in the vertical plane, let RL is vertical distance of the point from the datum. So this is the RL of change point. So I already know what is the height of instrument. Height of instrument is 105, 100.5. So height of instrument minus 0.7. So height of instrument is 100.5. Simple subtraction, 100.5 minus 8 meters. So I can generalize this formula as RL is equal to HI minus Fs. So if I want to find RL, I can use this expression HI minus Fs. So here value will be 100.5 minus 0.7. So value is 99.8. So RL of change point is 99.8. So next I'll shift the instrument from instrument point 1 to instrument point 2. So this is the instrument point 2. Now my instrument is at this point. So I told you I have to always start from benchmark. Now I'm shifting the instrument to next point. Let's say this is the next point. This is instrument point 2. This is instrument point 1. This is instrument point 2. Okay. Now I'll set the instrument. I'll do the temporary adjustments and all. And after I level the instrument, after I set the instruments, I'll get new height of instrument. Earlier, the line of sight was at this level. Now, because I've shifted my instrument, I'm getting new line of sight. This is a new line of sight, and I have to calculate the elevation of this. But before that, I'm taking to calculate this new height of instrument. Let's say this is the new height of instrument from the line of sight to the datum. Now I have to calculate this new height of instrument. How do I calculate this new height of instrument? To calculate the new height of instrument, I'll take staff reading on change point. Okay. I'll take staff reading on change point. Now I have already calculated the RL of change point. It is 99.8. So I'm taking staff reading on the change point. What will be this staff reading? Now after shifting the instrument, I already know what is the RL of change point. Now if I'm taking a staff reading on this particular point, whose RL is already known, it is 99.8. So this particular staff reading will be backside, because backside is a staff reading taken on point whose elevation is known. So let's say this is the staff reading I get. .8 meters. So now, what is the height of instrument? So I'll write this 1.8 here. Now I'll shift the instrument at point B and I'll take backside change point 1. I'll take a staff reading on change point 1. I already know what is the RL of change point 1. So that particular staff reading is called as backside. So 1.8, I'll enter it in backside. I'm taking the staff reading on change point 1. So 1.8. Now, because I've shifted the instrument, I'm getting new height of instrument. So new height of instrument is, we have this formula here. Our height of instrument is RL plus BS. So RL is 99.8 and BS is 1.8. So RL is 99.8 and backside is 1.8. So my new height of instrument is 101.6. So this is my new height of instrument. Okay, so this height of instrument is equal to 99.8 plus 1.8 and it is equal to 101.6 meters. So this is my new height of instrument, 101.6 meters.